Soviet Union's invasion of Afghanistan. The Soviet Union fell years ago, mainly because of the strong Afghan people. However, this part of history is now less interesting to read about. In a one-sided war, arguments about beliefs determined who gained or lost. Afghanistan succeeded in the battle for Islam, which is different from the long disrespect the country endured from other Islamic nations. Wherever the Soviets entered, they crushed the nations and defeated their ideologies. Here too, the Soviets came on a blue horse of pride. 36 years ago on this day, in the year 3058, the suffering Afghan population experienced the military air and ground intervention of the Soviet Union. Over 100,000 Soviet soldiers, numerous tanks, and hundreds of warplanes were part of this invasion. The USSR entered Afghanistan during the night, and in the initial operation, the ruthless Red Forces assassinated Hafizullah Amin, the leader of the Khalqi regime at that time. They then placed Babrak Karmal, a puppet and supporter, in control. Even though the Russians, through their puppets, had already started working to promote the communist ideology and intellectual conquest in Afghanistan, and were able to create a popular coup on the 7th of April. The Soviets were confidently backed by their allies, the Democratic People's Party of Afghanistan, PDPA, including the Khalqis and Pashtuns, who had effectively secured Afghanistan for them ideologically. This assurance prompted their entry into Afghanistan using tanks and airplanes. With 10 years of war, cruelty, and brutality, the Russian armies could not continue to conquer and occupy Afghanistan. The brave and mujahid Afghan nation started jihad with empty hand and hunger and give ultimate sacrifice by heavy toll of blood of 1.5 million martyrs, and millions were forced to migrate. 14,000 soldiers of the Soviets were killed and more than 40,000 were injured. The sacrifices and bravery of the Afghans forced the Soviet forces to leave Afghanistan after 10 years of war. On the 26th of Dawa month of 1367, the last Soviet soldier left Afghanistan. Soviet Union was broken and fragmented, and the Afghans saved the world from the Soviet threat. The causes of many tragedies in Afghanistan are the communists, termed the most brutal group. For over 3 decades, they've caused suffering, bloodshed, oppression, fostering distrust among Afghans. Their actions have left a trail of devastation, forcing people into hardship and sowing seeds of mistrust and division in the Afghan community. When the Americans entered Afghanistan, they aligned with certain individuals, placing them in key government roles, leading to a 20-year history of brutality, plunder, and killing of Afghan Muslims. Following the dark events of 1357, the communists committed crimes resulting in nearly 2 million Afghan martyrs, 1 million disabled, and millions displaced, destroyed their houses, and left countless widows and orphans on the shoulders of the oppressed Afghan people. In which the mass murders of students at Kabul University and other locations like Herat, Kunar, Pulicharki, and various prisons are unforgettable examples. In the final 2 years after the Russian withdrawal, Dr. Najib's communist regime, assisted by Russian advisors, launched around 2,500 long-range Scud missiles on free areas and cities, causing the death of thousands of citizens. Union was broken and fragmented, and the Afghans saved the world from the Soviet threat.